According to the 2020 U.S. Census, there are roughly 20.6 million Asians, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islanders living in America today, which constitutes approximately 6.2% of the entire U.S. population. In response to the COVID-19 pandemic, racist sentiment against these minorities became increasingly fervent.
We have lived in the shadows, invisible, overlooked, stereotyped, and relegated as second-class citizens.
The Stop Asian American and Pacific Islander AAPI hate organization began in 2020 to protest the blatant bigotry pervading the nation. Here is the founder Russell Zhang's perspective.
We said it's sort of the hate's been normalized with President Trump's rhetoric. He sort of opened Pandora's box that it's okay to mock and then to attack Asians.
We're against the Chinese virus.
China is to blame because the culture where people eat bats and snakes and dogs and things like that.
Stop AAPI Hate serves as a reporting center for any and all anti-Asian or Pacific Islander crimes. In their report of incidents from 2021, it was listed that 20% of Asians and Pacific Islanders experienced a hate incident in 2020 or 2021. While 2/3 of the incidents involved some form of harassment, roughly 1/6 of the incidents contained physical violence.
Asian piece of
Oh my God. Go back to whatever Asian country you belong in.
As a result of the uptick in violence against Asian and Pacific Islanders, the report also states that only half of Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders felt safe going out, and that roughly 3/4 felt that discrimination was the greatest source of their stress, even ahead of COVID-19 concerns.
Eventually, the growth of anti-Asian and Pacific Islander hate reached a brimming point with the murder of 8 people, 6 of whom were of Asian descent, in Atlanta. Testimony from one of the victims' sons encapsulates the terrific gravity of the incident.
My mother probably would have answered the door with a smile.
She would have seen his humanity.
She would have seen him for a person, and he didn't allow none of these people to express their humanity to him. Before we can end racism, we have to be able to see it. We have to be able to call it out. We have to be able to label it. And if we don't, then we allow the perpetrator to get away, absolving himself of accountability and responsibility.
Willing to endure hate no longer, Senator Mazie Hirono and Congresswoman Grace Meng, along with Vice President Kamala Harris, introduced the COVID-19 Hate Crimes Bill, which was later signed into law by President Biden in May 2021. It marked an important step towards resisting racism towards Asians and Pacific Islanders.
More than 1,100 anti-Asian hate incidents had been reported since the start of the pandemic. Today, that number is more than 6,600. And I'm talking about incidents where businesses are being vandalized in our biggest cities and in our smallest towns. I'm talking about a 61-year-old man getting kicked in the head, 2 elderly women being stabbed while waiting for the bus, 8 people in Atlanta getting shot on a Tuesday night. This violence, it did not come from nowhere, and none of it is new. In my life, my lived experience, I have seen how hate can pervade our communities.
We heard how too many Asian Americans have been waking up each morning this past year genuinely fearing for their safety. Just opening the door and walking down the street. And safety for their loved ones. The moms and dads, when they let their kids out the door to go to school, were worried. Attacked, blamed, scapegoated, harassed during this pandemic. Every time we let hate flourish, we make a lie of who we are as a nation. Hate can be given no safe harbor in America. For centuries, Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, Pacific Islanders, diverse and vibrant communities have helped build this nation only to be often stepped over, forgotten, or ignored.
People uniting against hate can strengthen our country.
With this in mind, how has our community been impacted, and what initiatives are there to prevent anti-Asian and Pacific Islander crimes on campus?
Almost the same way. I came here in 2007, and I remember at the time there were really a small number of Chinese living in Myrtle Beach. I just remember probably 2007, 2008. That was Chinese New Year, and a local Chinese restaurant owner just invited everybody to his restaurant to celebrate the Chinese New Year. And that was the first time I knew everybody in the local area, probably around 20. And now, the Chinese community here grows really fast. I guess probably 300-400. Yes, according to some estimate. We got a local community and we got kids. So we have a lot of activities like a Chinese New Year event. So the kids, we just encourage them to participate in that. So we also try to teach our kids the Chinese language, because this is the way practically they can communicate with their grandparents. According to many reports, and again, this is still under investigation by the WHO, World Health Organization. It might be from a Chinese lab, but whether this is an accident or some conspiracy, it's probably too early to tell. But when Donald Trump called this Chinese virus, so I guess this is the beginning of this hatred. The most significant takeaway, if you don't like this country's foreign policy, that's different from hating this country's people. Right. So I have to say, like all the ethnic group, most of Asian love this country, want to do more for the community. We're proud to be here, and I have been here for 20 years, and I consider myself part of the South Carolinians, and we love here, we work here. I raised my kids here, and I consider here as my family, my home.
My experience growing up in the United States as a person of color was challenging, as it is for anyone that grew up as a person of color. I encountered difficulties in just bullying and marginalization, specifically in Myrtle Beach. I know that this isn't the same for every single area, but there were very, very few Korean people that were living here as I was growing up, and I believe that there still are very few. I used to ride the bus when I was little, and I was riding the bus home one day, and I don't remember exactly what this kid said, but he said something really mean. He said something really mean about me being Asian, something really aggressively racist. And I got off the bus. I was sobbing. My dad had to run on the bus and talk to the bus driver, and then I had to at school the next day get picked up by an assistant principal to go find who this kid was. And that was just all really embarrassing, because it's as a kid you don't want to I don't know, I didn't want to be seen that way. I didn't want to be seen as someone that was causing trouble or anything. So that was a really big thing for me, that I was freaked out the whole time, where I was oh my god, everyone's gonna think I'm snitch. When I was in 9th grade, it was right around when COVID kicked off. I had a cold, I just didn't feel great, and I was coughing, and I remember I coughed. She was close to me, she was handing me a paper or something, but she wasn't that close to me. And I coughed, and she jumped back 20 feet, genuinely leaped backwards, and gave me the nastiest look. And I feel that was because of the instigated stereotype of COVID and coronavirus being because of only Asian people, and only Asian people can carry it, which was a really big thing, especially in the South. And I know people that were harassed in school, saying oh, go back to your country, you brought us this horrible disease. I personally felt unsafe. There are still people that are being harassed for being Asian. It didn't just go away. And most of the food we eat is Korean here, and I'm learning how to make Korean food, and that's honestly the main way I think that I'm going to continue to preserve my culture is just through Korean food. It's just a really big deal for us to make sure we're still in touch with our culture in terms of eating that food. And I'm Korean, so I just think it's a little jarring that all of a sudden people are so interested in Korean culture when I got made fun of so much for it growing up. I think that there's a line that people are crossing that's going a little bit too far into cultural appropriation, I feel.
Intercultural and Inclusive Services. My name is Joshua Moore. I'm the director here. In this office, we help students find their connection to the institution through the lens of an identity or affinity. We also foster this sense of like diversity education through our cultural programs. So we do cultural awareness-based programs. Like our office is the hub of things, but there's things happening all over campus that support students of color, whether that's in athletics, through a sport or a team. We have several initiatives here in our office for women of color. And then we also partner with global engagement. A lot of the students who are on the receiving end of discrimination or racism are often connected with our office through one of our initiatives, and so they come here as a safe space just to vent and get it out. Ability Review Team, that's our bias response team, and that's a team of folks well represented from the faculty to students and the staff to really help review those reports that are coming in and really work with the Dean of Students Office to render a proper response. Right now, there's not a lot of targeted initiatives, but I do think that we have individuals that recognize that diversity is a key component to our institution. I know every year we try to do something around the April-May timeframe to really promote Asian American Heritage Month and really help at least create the awareness that, you know, folks are here, that individuals on our campus are here, so how are we ensuring that they see themselves through our programming and things like that. I'm gonna sum it up in one word: belonging. I think with all three of those aspects, we allow each and every person to see themselves at the institution just through the framework, because diversity is a value, and if we value something, we're going to make sure that everyone in our space and in our community feels like they belong here and that they see this as
This is the part of the power of America, because you got the element of culture from around the world. This part the strength for this country to continue to grow, to be the model of everybody of the world. So that's the nature of America. That's the nature of American dream.